Hey everybody, Jake and Gino here, and today we're talking about lifestyle, G-Dad. We're talking about lifestyle of abundance in these United States of America. How you doing, sir?
Mr. Stenziano, I'm doing good. And for all of you out there, if you're living to paycheck, like Jake said, this is the US of A. You don't have to. We're going to go through a framework of how I got out of living from paycheck to paycheck.
I think the key is, we love buy right, manage right, and finance right for our multifamilies. We also love the richest man in Babylon. And that's a very, good starting point for anyone that wants to just start to build wealth. You don't have to go from zero to hero because it doesn't happen like that. You start educating yourself and you start expanding your mind on things that people laid the groundwork for many years prior to you. So, G-Dad, why don't you take us through this framework?
Number one, it's very easy, and yet it can be the hardest thing in the world. Decide.
It's a choice, isn't it?
Decide. Be a responsibility junkie. The 100-year real estate mindset. It's all about you. It's all about your character. It's all about the long term. It's all about the decision making today. Once you decide, game over. T. Harv Eker's book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. That's when I decided to stop living paycheck to paycheck. Now, I had savings set aside, but I had much bigger goals. And I'm going to give you the time when I decided it was time for me to game up, to level up, and to start building a business where I can get out of this weekly paycheck. Because that's what it was when I was, in the restaurant business. It was every week. One week I'd make more money. One week I would make less money. It felt like paycheck to paycheck. Picture this. Around 2007, 2008, it's a Friday night in the wintertime. I'm in my parking lot. There's 6 inches of snow. Haven't done any business again. Guess what? I'm not getting paid anymore this week. It's all over. I've got salt, calcium chloride. I'm throwing it in the parking lot. I'm bitching and I'm complaining. But you know what? Those are the results that I was getting because that's what I did. That's what I had up to that point. I look up. My mom owns the building, and there's 3 apartments upstairs. In one of those windows, I see a light there. And it just dawns on me, wow, my mom is home right now. Those residents in those apartments are paying her. She's getting paid every month. She's not living paycheck to paycheck. She owns real estate. She owns rental real estate. And for me, that's when it hit me. I'm like, I cannot believe I've been living this fake dream where I have this business and I'm getting paid every week. I'm not building anything. So that's the moment in 32-degree weather with sleet, hail hitting my face, calcium chloride all in my hands, not making any money. That's when I decided, my epiphany moment of I'm not going to be living paycheck to paycheck anymore.
You got to get your expenses right until you don't need to. Let that sink in for a minute. You need to get your expenses right until you don't need to. What does that mean? When I started first investing in multifamily, I was spending $45 a week on groceries. I was living by myself in a 1-bedroom apartment. It was $650 a month for the apartment. And obviously the apartment and the $45 a week for groceries. But I wasn't making enough to live a lavish lifestyle. Well, I could if I wanted debt up to my ears and I wanted to be suffocating myself. Gino was talking about being a responsibility junkie. You need to own your outcomes. You have a choice. Mm-hmm. If you're making $50,000 a year right now and driving a BMW with an $800 a month car payment, that's a choice. If you want to get to the next level early on, you need to own those expenses and wait till you get to the point where your income so surpasses those types of expenses that it doesn't matter. $800 is not a big deal anymore. But early on in your career, you can't be spending $800 a month on a stupid car payment that doesn't matter. Do the things that everyone else is not doing. Don't go out and buy the expensive car. Don't do this crazy stuff in the beginning because that's going to hold you back and stifle your growth. I have so many friends that want to take that jump. They want to take that next step, but they've buried themselves in high mortgage payments, high car payments, keeping up with the Joneses. Screw everybody else. This is about you and your family and doing good for the long term. You have to look down the road. That BMW, that gratification is going to wear off in 3 weeks. Do the smart things now. Cut those frivolous expenses until they don't matter anymore. And then you can fully enjoy them because you're not going to be freaking out. Where am I going to get the money for the next payment?
Be brutally honest with yourself. The
Yes.
second one is look at all your expenses. Now, what does Jake mean by that? I'm going to give you actionable steps. Pull out your credit cards. I didn't have this issue when I was growing up because I lived in the cash world and never used credit cards. And we didn't have all these subscriptions 20 and 25 years ago. Do you have Disney for $9 a month? Do you have Netflix? Do you have Hulu? Do you have Spotify? You can see. Do you have iTunes?
It goes on and on and on. Nickel and dime you to death. They eat you alive.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But just understand you need to control. Those are your outflows of your business.
And they're residual. They don't stop unless you stop them.
SAT, not Scholastic Aptitude Test.
Woo!
And they get rid of that anyway. So Starbucks, Amazon, and Target. Jake and I, we shake when we see those because those are our three biggest expenses.
We used to, at least.
You walk into Target, well, still, even so, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It's just the thought of getting sloppy, and it's the thought of wasting money. We are our stewards of our money. We are here to make money and really to create generational wealth and to give it, because what me and Jake are doing right now is affecting our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. So we have that responsibility. We're financial stewards. The money's not ours. God has entrusted us with skills and with abilities to use that money in a wise way. If I want to go out and buy a Lambo right now, I can stroke a check. I don't have to because I don't want it. And I know it's a frivolous waste of money and it's not going to bring happiness to me. What's going to bring happiness to me? Having 17,000 units closed from the Jake and Gino community, over $1 billion in assets that they've closed. That brings happiness to me. You know why? Because it builds my business and I'm helping others create legacies.
Impact and purpose, Gino.
That's right.
Yes.
So I got off the topic. Look at all your expenses. Make sure that you're not wasting money. There aren't holes in your business.
Gino, you were touching on credit cards before we get to the next one here. This is something that I do. I use credit cards to my advantage.
Mm-hmm.
My wife has a credit card. She has like one of these Amazon cards or whatever, which going back there, it gets like 5%. And I have a credit card. It gets 2% on everything. I pay them off weekly. So everything that I purchase is going through a credit card. I never use a debit card. Okay. No one's getting direct access to my bank account. So I'm using leveraging OPM, other people's money.
Mm-hmm.
And they're paying me 2%, at least sometimes 5% on everything that I do. Okay. Mm-hmm. I log in, I pay my credit cards off weekly. There's never running balance. There's never anything there. So they're never making anything off of me. I'm only getting 2% on everything that I spend. So that's a little life hack that we use effectively.
Number 3, create a budget. No matter how much money you have coming in, I know people who live in New York City who are making 7 figures a year. It's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. And they're living paycheck to paycheck, because when you start leveling up, it's called
the Barbaros.
It's called the Diderot effect. Everybody, the Diderot effect is basically when you start making more money, you think you're entitled to spend more money. That should not be the case. Do you need a bigger house just because you got a pay raise? That should be saving for an investment. It shouldn't be going to buying a bigger liability. Create the budget. When I moved down to Florida, I really created a solid budget. I wanted to see, because we started going to new stores. I was going across the street to the Publix to start buying my groceries. And I was like $600, $800. What's going on here? So I said, let's create a budget, $3,000 a month. May 22nd, I hear my son, Dad, we're over the $3,000 budget. And my wife in the background goes, what do you guys stop?
Shut up, Michael. Shut up, Michael.
And it was eye-opening to me. Do you know why? I didn't mind going over that amount, but what did I do? I took control. I actually joined Costco. I started going to Walmart for organic groceries, and that grocery bill went back down to $3,000, not $4,000. I didn't get sloppy. Can I spend an extra $1,000 a month? I can, but I don't want to do that because I'm a role model to my children. I want my children to see where the money's going to. When you go into a store with $50 with your kids. Go shop with them, cash, and let them look at it and let them say, wow, we only have $50. And let them understand that that's all they have to spend. Then all of a sudden, they're going to have to control their expenses. That's a great learning lesson. So when they get to the cash register,
them value by doing that. I do the same thing with my kids, and I'll say to them, I said, you have this amount of money. Do you want to do this? Then your money's gone. Is that worth it?
Exactly.
No, but Dad, you can buy it. No, Dad's not buying it. It's up to you to make that
exactly.
choice. So,
it's all about the value, and it's all about creating that budget, because credit cards are great. As adults, we understand, but children have to understand that there's a limit. It's not uncapped. So when I go in there and, when they say, man, $50, I'm like, we didn't get anything for $50. I mean, that piece of meat was $50. So they understand the value of money. Number 4, Jake, this is important. Create an emergency fund. We need to have money set aside that if you know what, you need to fix your transmission on your car, or if your air conditioner goes out, you don't freak out. You've got that money set aside so you can go throughout your day. Because I talk about this, the 7 levels of energy. You're talking about when you're in victim or anger, man, that'll set you off when you're going throughout your day. And all of a sudden, you've got a big expense and you can't pay for it. If you've got that money set aside for an emergency fund, it really helps out.
Gino,
talk to me, bro.
Dual asset strategy, baby. You know what the best emergency fund is? Having a whole life policy that you can pull from. You're getting your life insurance covered. It's fixed. It's guaranteed. It's not rented. Okay, This is not rented insurance. This is owned life insurance. And then you can pull from it. We're not going down the dual asset road today, but look, dual asset strategy, having that whole life there for the emergency fund is a great way to build wealth.
That's an excellent. It's all about opportunity cost. You have that money set aside. The next one. Put 3 to 6 months of saving aside. And that, I'm sure if you did that in the last year and a half during this whole entire pandemic, and we do this in our businesses, we have what we call CapEx reserves. We have reserves accounts for all of our businesses that if something does go wrong, where all of a sudden we need to lay people off or, residents, we're not renting out apartments or whatever, the business slows down, we have those reserves. And you as a person should have a few months reserves.
So you don't have to lay people off.
That's right. And you can, if you're working for somebody, you're saying, I want to take the leap, or I want to go on vacation, or I want to change my job. Man, that will give you the opportunities. Like Jake said, with that dual asset strategy, you have your living benefits and your death benefits. You can borrow from the cash value if you need that. It's all about cash management. It's all about the ability to tap into those reserves if you need it. And let me tell you, if you're looking to change occupation or you're looking to leave your job, if you have that cushion, that 6 months of cushion, it will give you peace of mind and it will give you the reinforcement and that level of energy once again, where I can do it. I can fall back because I have those reserves. So start the emergency fund and then next 3 to 6 months of savings. And Jake, I think the final one, just start saving money, 5, 6, try 10%. Every paycheck, put it into what we call a financial freedom account, that FFA account. What's that going to do? We're not saving for an event like the middle class. Everyone listening to this knows that that's faulty. It took me a long time to learn that. We're saving for buying assets. That's what we want. That's what our cash management, that's what our whole life insurance policy is. We're saving money here to buy an asset because that apartment complex, my very first one with Jake, 25 units, it's spitting off to me on average $3,000 a month. That one apartment complex has put one child through college.
Boom.
The second one is going, and it's going to put the rest of them through college. All 6 kids from one crappy, dilapidated 25 unit crack den. I didn't save and put money in a retirement account, let it sit there, or a self-directed IRA or a 529 plan. I use that money to control and buy an asset, and that asset is doing all the work for me. And you know what? When they're out of college, that property is probably worth double what it's worth now. I can sell that and I can retire off it, or I can continue to cash flow with that property.
The thing, guys, when we walked that property, we bought it, it was in rough shape. Now it's all about value, right? It's safe, it's clean, affordable. There's high demand for it. It's a high-performing asset that performs the way it's supposed to. Now, Gino, you mentioned the 529. That's where you can go and save for college, right?
Yes.
That's where you can go and put money. Everyone's, I'm going to go and put money because my kids are going to go to college. I don't even want my kids to go to college. If they want to, we can talk about that in 20 years from now or whenever that time comes. Shit, it's going to be sooner than that. But when it does, to Gino's point, we have assets. I'm not putting money that's going to be managed, out there by someone else. And, if my kids decide to go, great. If not, I'm going to be penalized. No, I'm producing assets that are there to more than cover it. Think about that. You're putting money into this 529 thing. You're not creating an asset, but maybe they'll use it someday, versus creating something that gives tax benefits, mortgage pay down, and throws off cash flow to put the kids through college. And then once they go through college, it's continuing to print money for you. Why the hell would you do a 529 versus putting that money in an apartment complex? Even a mediocre apartment complex deal. It baffles me. So, Gino, this is great stuff, by the way. Thank you.
Jake, decide. That's what everyone needs to do. Once you make the decision, game on, right? That book written by Stephen Pressfield, I know you have that urge of resistance. You feel that word, you're resisting. When you resist something, you need to do it. You need to tackle it. Read the book by Stephen Pressfield. I mean, The War of Art, amazing book. But what I want you to do, decide. If you want to learn more about the Youth Academy, we have a Youth Academy, Jake and Gino. Just email me, Gino@jakeandgino.com. I'd love to send you information out there. We have a personal finance academy at Jake and Gino. It teaches all these principles. It teaches skills to learn. It teaches what parents can do. It teaches about investing, about money, about banking, insurance. We have lessons on crypto. We have lessons on taxes, entrepreneurship. This is all stuff that they don't teach in school. They don't teach in college because they want employees. But we're out there, Jake and Gino, to empower. We create multifamily entrepreneurs. We want entrepreneurs out there. The entrepreneurs are going to be the people who solve our problems in the future, whether they're environmental, whether they're any problems that are out there. We are the ones with the solutions because we're out there with impact.
Gino, thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thanks, brother.
Peace, love, and prosperity, everybody.